back to Coach On and Off the Field, where Tim Hagan and I bring to you moments from our youth sports coaching experiences and illustrate the parallels into the corporate setting. Tim spends his time on the volleyball court and I spend mine on the soccer field. And both of these locations, along with basketball courts, softball fields, boxing arenas, and even your offices, are filled with frustrated players or employees at any given moment, especially during a losing season. And so I want you to think about your employees. How many of your people are currently frustrated or experiencing disengagement? Think about that. I'll give you a second. Are you thinking none? One? Not a lot? Because if you say none, I want you to think again. Because Gallup studies actually show that worldwide, within every single industry, including your company, only 15% of employees are actually engaged in their work. And 81% of employees are considering leaving their current jobs, thus costing U.S. employers over $450 billion a year, y'all, in turnover because of disengagement. It's crazy. So what these numbers show us is that employees are going to be disengaged every single day. And it's our job, it's your job as a leader to make sure that we're invested in our people and that we are going to coach them through the frustration. And y'all, it's not an easy task. I chose this specific soccer season to focus on for this series, especially for the many lessons that it's taught, especially this one here about dealing with frustrated players in the midst of a losing season. Because we were 0-12 in our season leading up to the tournament game in January of 2017. Talk about a losing season. Our season began with shots against us at no less than 12 or 13. And shots for us, well, that was literally a long shot. It barely happened.
We went into Judges Cup with no wins at all, and Coach Jen tried to train us, and she did. She trained us as hard as she could, and we ended up not winning any season games. But
there was one game, though, that I'll never forget in this season. We were down players for the game against 11-1 team. My starting forward and defender, they were out for injury, and my sub bench had maybe 2 men on it. We played 11 men on the field against this team that was completely dirty. The coach was yelling obscene gestures for the players to conduct against my boys, such as hitting them in places that a man should not be hidden, or so I'm told. And so I was mortified as a coach, as a mom, but as a female coach. I had never seen this before. And y'all, at halftime, we were down by 10, and the ref had asked us if we wanted to take the mercy on it. My boys said, nope, no coach, we're not going to do that. You taught us to win or lose all the way. And so they wanted to continue the fight fair and square. And we ended with a 14-point deficit. And at the end, the coach had the audacity, after crushing us, y'all, to yell at the top of his lungs to his team, "That's what they get for having a female coach." Well, so much for positivity. Just kidding, I maintained it. But as you can imagine, I remember this game for many reasons. But the main point that I make from this game is that the amount of joy that these boys brought me as their coach during this specific game. These boys fought hard through a major loss, through harshness of an opposing team, and injuries that took place because of the brutality. They ended this game and they looked at me and they repeated words back to me that I had sent them all season. They said, "It's all right, coach. This is just a practice game for the big tournament." Oh my gosh, talk about a leadership moment and success. Because there are going to be losing seasons in your industry, and there are going to be moments when your team just can't get it. They can't pick up the strategy that you continue to teach. They cannot learn that new product that you so badly need them to become a product expert on. They just can't get it. They're not hitting their numbers, and you don't look like the winning coach of the year or the manager of the year. But you know what? It's okay, because there's always cheerleading. Do you know how to be a cheerleader? Because if not, you better learn. You better learn to be the best cheerleader on your team, right? I spent that entire season picking up these boys, cheering them on, singing their praises, celebrating the small wins at the end of each and every game, and being louder, y'all, than the winning team, and making them smile even when they wanted so bad to cry. Yes, I was that obnoxious, literally.
Coach Jen loves the game, and she brings an enjoyable atmosphere to it.
These kids want when they're playing a sport. They want to win, right? And it wasn't happening on my team. What's the next thing that they want to do? They want to have fun. And so they already knew that they lost the game. They clearly did. The last thing that they needed was me telling them, y'all lost a game, and then telling them about the flaws that were the cause of that loss. No, that was not my coaching strategy or my style. And I made sure that throughout the season, they heard the same repeated message, that this was just practice for another tournament game, or for the big tournament game, rather. And wouldn't you know, that mindset shift served us so well. Because you want to know which team we faced first during that big tournament that I told them about? You betcha! The female coach hating team, as I like to call them. And let me tell you, this game was the highlight of my soccer coaching career. My full squad was here for game day, for the big tournament game that we've been preparing for all season. Every other team was going in wanting to win every game, and me, I was using them as practice, right? And so my boys were fired up, mainly because I think they want to just test the theory about Coach Jen. Is she really crazy? Does she really know what she's talking about? Can we really get a win out of this? But either way, the look on the other team's face was priceless when we scored the first goal of the game. And then another. And then another, and then another shot to win the game. My boys made me so proud. They turned their frustrations around and they won that game that I had promised them all season that they would win if they just applied the little things. And yeah, they were a little petty at the end of the game after they won. And I kind of let it slide because they said, that's what happens when you have a female coach. So I took that.
We were facing a team that was an age division below us one time, and we ended up losing. But in the Judges Cup, we knew their strategies, perhaps you could say, and we used their strategies against them to defeat them.
So why do I share this? Because it doesn't matter how frustrated our players get, because we can lead them to a successful finish in the midst of their losing season, guys. As managers, when you're coaching someone, a player or an employee, you cannot expect to gain immediate trust with them. You know, I had winning seasons that preceded my title, so I could have come in and just expected to win, but I could not expect these boys to trust me to get them that winning result without first building that trust amongst the team and with them. And what a challenge that was when you're losing every single game. What kind of coach do I appear in their eyes? Well, that's where you got to become the cheerleader. And so I became the best darn cheerleader that season. And so this is why in the coaching world, these first few sessions that you're going to have with your employees are super crucial. You need to use these sessions or practices, in my case, to influence them, to influence your people. You got to focus on the positives, providing positive feedback, spending time only on the positives. And it's going to be hard because when you're in a coaching mode and a coaching mindset, you're going to want to look for things that need to be corrected. You know what the end goal is. You know the quotas you're trying to achieve, so you're going to want to look for those things that need to be changed. But I need you to stay focused on the positives. Tim likes to say at Progress Coaching that where there is effort that we acknowledge, there will be commitment. And where there is progress that we can pinpoint and we can acknowledge, then that's where we're going to have greater accountability. And where there are results, that's where we can that's where we then can begin to build consistency. I'll get it out. Say that 3 times fast. And it is this consistency of positive reinforcement that gained the trust and commitment that I needed from these boys to be able to coach them into a championship title. Because as a winning coach, I could have went into this season and looked at it and said, I'm only going to look at the things that need to be changed. And I can only focus on those things that need to be changed, and saying things like, well, y'all, we would be better if you would just, or if we would all just start doing this. But really, what good is that going to do? We want to focus so much on the effort and the praises. You want to praise effort and acknowledge it. Let your employees know that you see the effort that they're making. When you acknowledge their effort, you keep telling them, keep going, I see you, I'm rooting for you. And that's what they need. They need to know that you, their boss, are in their corner. And when you fall into that trap of, that's good, but followed by a list of things that they need to change, I want you to think about what's happened mentally, especially if their love language or their language of appreciation is words of affirmation, because you've just killed it. So 3 strategies that I focused on throughout this season to motivate my frustrated players out of their losing season were all coaching principles that we teach at Progress Coaching that can be applied to your people. And so number 1 is to set expectations that revolve around positivity. I had simple rules. Can't say no on my team. You need to have good sportsmanship with your teammates and with the others that are being brutal to you, in spite of how nasty they are. Don't lie. Always show effort. And it was this consistency that set the reinforcement of the positive culture that I was trying to build. Because if I asked the team to do something that they didn't want to do because it was hard and they're high school, middle school boys, they couldn't respond with no, or the entire team would get burpees. Now, you can't do burpees. Well, maybe you can. But you could put in some sort of cadence to reward the positives that you observe in your office, because you want the entire team to know that if they all contribute, that they're going to have positivity and you've set the stage to win. And number 2, involve the players in the winning strategy. We would huddle up before every practice to ask the team about the positives from the game and what they needed to work on to keep that skill. And then what would knowing that particular skill do to help them improve in another area on the field. And then they became invested in their own training because they were leading their training. So let your team be involved in creating their own winning strategies and watch the frustrations just melt away. It's so beautiful. And number 3, provide that safe place for your team to fail. Now, this does not mean to settle for failure, but it does mean to increase your trust with your players so that they know that they can fail and that you're going to guide them to success as a result. I had a player that broke all the rules. He said no, he showed aggravation, major disrespect, and I took him for a walk. I spoke his language of appreciation. I let him know that I saw his strengths and I saw him as a leader on his future competitive team. And then I asked him how he could apply those same leadership principles now on this season. And do you know that he became a top goal scorer during the tournament and is now a starter on a competitive team? It's beautiful how you can see the frustrations just melt away by applying positivity. And remember, you as the manager are only responsible for 50% of the change of those frustrated employees. And it's your actual people or your frustrated employees that are responsible for the other 50%. And so if you're leading them both on and off the field into a positive culture, you can betcha that you're going to end up with a winning result in the midst of a losing season.
Realize, even though we lost every single game, we still had a chance to win the tournament by applying what we were taught and instructed to do.
Thank you so much for watching Coach On and Off the Field. I'm coaching strategist Jen Ziner. Make sure you join us next week as we talk about the top 3 lessons that this particular losing season taught me as a winning coach. Thank y'all and have a blessed rest of your week. Bye-bye.